Can anyone hear me? Tim, we need to upgrade your video presentation here. Get some lighting, high def cameras. You got to put your boom down too, your mic.
Oh, I didn't realize you were talking to me. How's it going, Matt?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Were the other ones up?
Well, I think they're trying to get the system to work at
There's
the
Frank.
Yeah, found my.
All right.
No, that's
There we
cool.
go. Looks like we don't have tech support Gary there to get it going, but you're over it.
Looks like they're hard at work at something.
1, 2, 3.
4, 5, 6.
Pulls out. Okay. Welcome everybody to the Woodside Highlands Road Maintenance District Resident Advisory Committee meeting. I'm Teresa Godfrey. I'd like to call the order to meeting. Roll call. Bill Raylick.
Here.
Jean Isaacson. Here. Jorg Schul. Matt King.
Here.
Frank Crow.
Here.
And Tim McDonald.
Present.
Great. Everybody's here. Welcome. I hope everybody had nice holidays and we're now back in the swing of things. We have a few announcements before the meeting gets going. For those folks who have any issues with debris appearing in your front yard, you don't know anything about it, the PG&E does tree safety work in our community. They never let us know when they're coming. They don't know, we don't know who they're going to be working with or for. We don't know the contractors. We don't know anything, but we do know that there's a website that you can go to, which is on your agenda. It's called treesafety@pgne.com. And they also have a phone number, which is 1-800-564-5080. PG&E is prioritizing tree maintenance for obvious reasons. And so they took up residence at the Highlands last summer, and perhaps they'll be around again. I do know they came around a couple of weeks ago, one of the residents. And so if you have any questions about what's going on, or if you have a tree that you think is threatening any PG&E lines, you can call that number and have them come out and look at the tree.
Thank you.
Okay, the other announcement I wanted to make was about the chipper program. And for those of you who don't know about the Woodside Fire Chipper Program, this is a program that it's sponsored by the fire department, and it gives everybody an opportunity to take larger limbs off your property that are potentially dead or in the zones that are fire zones or need trimming off of the roof or something like that. And they've been coming up to Woodside Highlands twice a year. They're continuing to do the program, and it's a great program. But instead of just having assigned dates to Woodside Highlands, now for any resident who wants their debris picked up, you actually have to sign up for a pickup. So within the dates that Woodside Highlands are going to be given, you will actually have to go to the fire department website and sign up for a pickup on those dates. The 2025 dates have not been released yet, so don't do it yet. I'll let you know when the date is for the first chipper. I believe it's not going to be until March sometime, and I don't know when our chipper dates are going to be. But for those of you who have any questions about the chipper program, you can contact me, or the fire personnel who's in charge of the chipper program is Dan Dempsey, very nice man. You can contact him directly. Okay, those are my announcements. Are there any oral communications for items that are not on the agenda?
So Teresa, just a quick announcement. I can only stay for about the first half hour. Unfortunately, my wife's traveling, so I gotta take care of the kids tonight.
Okay, so we can take items that are in your purview early if no one has any objection.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything that's not on the agenda? Okay. Approval of the minutes from September 11th, 2024. They were distributed with the agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes?
Mhm.
Do I hear a motion to accept as presented?
Accept.
Okay, all those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Great. I neglected to mention that Jean Isaacson has offered to be the secretary for the meeting. Thank you very much, Jean.
Thank you, Jean.
As you know, that this is a rotating responsibility, so we really appreciate it when someone steps forward and volunteers.
I was
Matt.
absent at the last meeting, so I didn't vote there, but I had no questions on these. These looked good to me.
You had questions on what, Matt?
I had no questions. That was my comment. I didn't vote because I wasn't at the meeting. I was absent, but I don't have any questions from the meeting.
Okay, understood. Okay, thank you. Finances, Matt, do you want to just mention anything about finances?
Yeah, I'll let me just pull this up real quick. I'm gonna share my screen. Hopefully this works. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yep.
So just a couple quick updates. We haven't spent much money since the last time we met. So obviously this year the big expenditure that we had was around the paving work. So all of that work has been paid out through all three payments. We had three that we had planned with the servicer, and so that's been completed with the town. Since then, we have completed, and I apologize, some of this might have actually been covered in the last meeting, but the two highlighted items here in the light magenta color, which is the dumpsters for fall and the labor for fall. So both of those have been processed with the town. Teresa, I think these were both with you. So if there was any issues in terms of receiving the funding from the town for this reimbursement, please let me know.
There was no issue other than it took 3 months.
Okay. Yeah, it took some time. There's no other expenditures that I've submitted to the town. So I don't have anything recorded here, but if there's anything that is missing or expected, please let me know as well. And I can get it marked here. The quick highlight I will give otherwise. So the town has been continuing their ongoing upgrade of their financial systems. It's something they've been doing for the last several years. I think we've seen publicly a lot of the news around maybe their progress isn't quite as quick as we had hoped for. Because of that, we haven't been able to get any audited financials from the town for the last several years. And so we've been tracking this manually through our expenses and kind of estimated revenue and so forth. We've stated this in the last many meetings, to be honest. And so this hopefully isn't a surprise to anyone. We did get an unaudited number from the town of $324,677. This is the number I have highlighted right here, which is our cash balance as of August 1. That number includes the first two payments that you have listed here of $80,000. So if you actually take the number that I had as our beginning balance estimate and you subtract out the $80,000, it was 308. So we're actually ahead of the number that I was expecting that we would be at, which means that our revenues either came in higher than I was expecting, or there was perhaps an expense that they just haven't booked yet that I had submitted to them. So we need to obviously get through with the town and to get through with the town to audit these numbers and hopefully make an audited number that we can work off of. But the plus side here is that the town has more cash in our account than I was actually expecting. So we're ahead, which is nice. So plus news there, positive news there. We still have the funds in the budget here for the spring cleanup. It was the same amount that we had in the fall. We actually came in under those numbers, as you can see here. So I think we're in good shape from that perspective. And then we have the miscellaneous funds that we can use if needed. We haven't used those. We haven't drawn down against that yet. So all in all, I think we're progressing pretty well. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Oh, Matt, I just wanted to mention one thing again. I think we said it once before, but because the town is looking for sources of revenue and income, there was a question raised whether the road maintenance district funds could be used to help shore up the town finances. And the answer to that is no, because they are specially designated taxing money. They cannot be used for anything else but the purpose for which they are collected. So the town cannot use our funds for their shortfall.
That's a good clarification.
Yeah.
Great. Who passed judgment on that? Is that the town lawyer, legal or something like that?
Frank, that's a good question. In other words, where did I get that information from? I actually asked the finance committee at the town, and it was from the finance committee.
Okay.
And they're the ones who are presently working to come up with a strategy for long-term financing.
Just want to make sure that was tied down, lashed, locked, and so forth.
It's in the minutes. I don't know how else one would go about lashing it down, but I think that's about as good as we can do without actually asking for a lawyer to write a letter or something, which would cost money, which
Right.
I don't know that we want to do for the town right now. I mean, if somebody feels it's important, we could ask them. I'm comfortable with it for now.
I am too. I mean, it's clearly, part of it, it's clearly an assessment district that is totally separate. And then the other portion that we get clearly is somehow, we don't know how calculated. That would be more questionable if anything was, but the $250 per household per year is clearly a direct assessment only on us. So I don't see how they could ever question that.
Anybody else have any comments on that?
Do we just compose a letter to them stating that, so it's on file, so a piece of paperwork that follows this up?
Well, it's in our minutes.
How about their minutes?
Their minutes is what I'm saying. If we file
I mean, we could say anything in our
Then
minutes.
the
It's
board
in the,
setting-
it's in the finance committee minutes.
oh, okay, all right.
So if
That's
we
fine.
want more, I think we can certainly ask for more,
No,
if
as long as
that's
we
what
put
you
it
want.
in their minutes.
I think it's sufficient.
I mean, I do read the finance committee minutes. I don't go to the meetings, but it appears they're going in a totally different direction from looking at Woodside Highland funds. I think they're actually exploring opportunities with perhaps some cost savings with town of Woodside. And there's some other charter city options, and I'm not sure where they're going to land. I think it's going to be a very complicated conversation. Any other comments on the town finances? We can't really answer those questions. Okay, Matt, is there anything else that you'd like to address while you're here? You're on the paving subcommittee, so let's possibly take those issues on now.
Yep.
So we had, first item was follow-ups on the Santa Maria berm.
Hi, Frank.
This
So
is a good
Frank-
example of why you need to be on site when someone does anything.
Yeah.
So we understand there was some deconstruction today and possibly an oops.
I fixed it, but not what Gene wanted fixed.
So this will go on for at least 10 years, I'm sure. So, you know, how the guys we had a berm thing marked to keep water. You wouldn't expect to do this, but hey, we told, you know, let it run across the road as the way it always has, keep it on the uphill side of the road below me, for example, and take it into that new drain we put some money into a couple years ago. And so they did just the opposite and they built, you know, a berm to take it on the outside of the road around the curve. So we asked them to fix it and yada, yada. So Frank, I think maybe we ought to go out there and meet together. I think maybe we didn't quite agree on what we were doing out there. So it works, but it works because I piled up the asphalt you broke off
Mhm.
and made it guide the water across the road again. So we'll go talk. We'll go meet.
We'll see how it works over the next few days.
Then there was the bollard by Upper Water Tank bid, which was the whole fire department and whether they were going to be able to construct something. At the end of the day, the answer was no. We're not putting in a bollard, but they did do some striping up there to keep people from parking too closely to the fire hydrant. There is a parking regulation that exists for all fire hydrants. It's a state regulation and it's a 15 feet regulation, which means that there should be no parking within 15 feet of a fire hydrant on either side of a fire hydrant. And to my knowledge, the only fire hydrant that has parking that's less than 15 feet is the one up at the top on Russell, which is close to the water tank and also has been identified by the fire department as a very congested area that we should consider looking at parking up there because they feel that getting to that particular intersection and that fire hydrant is in an emergency would be very difficult given the way that residents are currently parking on both sides of Russell. And given there's a 15 feet parking regulation, we could possibly do some striping that would eliminate
It got worse.
the parking right near that fire hydrant.
We've got a wonderful sign maker who I bet could make a couple of signs saying, do not park between these signs or something like that. People think that would work?
I'm happy to try.
I think part of the issue is, I mean, I thought everybody learned that I thought it was 20 feet. You know, when you took driver's ed and all that, or probably it's not when you get your driver's your, certification every 4 years, whatever it is. But I think the neighborhood needs to know first that that's the law. Don't you think? Yeah. And then that might help them take it a little more seriously. I don't know if they know it's the law. They just keep parking there.
Well, we don't have it striped off in any way. It's not designated. We have a little area by the hydrant itself, but
It's not, but the thing is the fire trucks, I wonder what the 20-foot thing I assume is so the fire truck can get off out of the way and hook themselves up to it and not be blocking the whole road.
right.
So those neighbors up there need to know they can't park there.
So do we have clear instruction from the fire department on what they would suggest we do? Other than we need more space, which is a little bit more, generous. So what I would suggest that we probably get somebody out and walk it with them and mark it up. I think it's within all our interests that we, have a safe access to fire hydrants, and there should not be any questions from the fire department about what we do.
We've had informal talks. We've never specifically said, they've noted it to us when
Okay.
they come up that this is an area that's a
Okay.
problem for them.
Yeah, maybe we should have a walk with them and mark it up and see where we end up after that, and then come back here and discuss it, as a neighborhood rather. So we have a clear understanding what they actually really would like to see,
Okay.
and then go from there, right?
Yeah.
Work, get the feedback from the community, mark it out first, right? So that people know that there's something in the works.
Mhm.
Really a good thing, so.
I think we need to make our neighborhood as user-friendly as possible. As far as the fire department goes, they're gonna, if there's something really bad that happens, they're gonna have choices. And that time we had the fire at the top of the hill, it was sheer chaos and it didn't work out very well. They didn't even know which fire hydrants were pressurized at that time, if you all remember. They spent 12 minutes looking for a fire hydrant that worked while the fire was burning up there. So if that's the law, that's the law, and they need to say so, and then we need to say, okay, we're not gonna, neighbors can't park there.
So should I just say that I'll reach out to, if you give me a contact, I will,
Sure.
I'll work with you on the contact
Sure.
and just try to get somebody out there because like I see it's working in together with paving anyway, with marking, should be
Right.
permanent marking. That we get the feedback from them first and put it down with chalk or something,
Sure.
and then we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Sure, absolutely. Along with that intersection, we've just been contacted by Cal Water that they are going to be doing some additional work on that corner. And they will be closing that corner the week of, I'll get there in a minute, I'm sorry. They have to install a regulator in the intersection of Russell and Tynan by 102 Russell. They're starting the work on February 10th. The work is estimated to last 2 weeks. They're going to be sending out notification letters the week of February 3rd. And they will have the road closed during the work time, during work days. I'm assuming it's going to be open on the weekends. And residents can go around either using Tynan up to Russell, or they can go up the steep part of Russell. But the intersection at the top is going to be where the work is going to be taking place. And they will be turning water off. And they will be notifying the residents who are affected by that water being turned off. So
Getting
that's-
back to the bollard, I noticed that somebody painted the hole a bright yellow, so at least somebody's making some effort. Well, I'm
That
not
was
sure.
the water company. We asked the water
Yeah.
company to improve the asphalt condition up there. Their asphalt was breaking off and going into our drainage.
Hmm.
So they cleaned that up. They put some painting around, and that's when I asked them if they could put some painting at 15 feet.
Hmm.
And they said that that really wasn't their purview. They couldn't do it. So it was all within the guise of that intersection being worked on, that we recently had conversation about this.
Hmm.
I'd like to suggest that if we're going to do signs, that we actually include the California law that applies. Like California Cap 175 or whatever it is on the sign itself. So people don't think it's a suggestion.
I can actually give that reference to Tim, and Tim, you can kind of take a look and see how we would go about doing that. We've
Happy to
usually
work
been
on it.
a little bit less formal, but there is a parking code in the California law that we can reference. Anything else on that? Okay, Matt, we were working on paving stuff because you're here. We took care of the Santa Maria berm, bollards by water tank, parking regulation, fire department. Let's talk about slurry seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as a paving committee, so we basically, we had the PCI, like scroll a few years back, we had the PCI, we had that broken up into different sections, which we would now work through. So we're done with rounding it up. And so now it would be more a phase of maintenance. We're actually a year ahead of the schedule, thanks to PG&E, Cal Water, who, pulled one part for us. And so this is, I think the interference questions always like, especially with striping, do we actually want to do a slurry seal? Opinions are mixed, what we get back, right? When we called Willis Howard, he actually thought slurry seal was a good idea. But you call the pavers, of course, they don't think slurry seal is a good idea. So I think it's a little bit up on us to figure it out. you know, probably, do we have a new town engineer who we could potentially ask? Does anybody know?
Say it again.
So
You're
Do we
gonna-
have a new town engineers, like the replacement
Oh.
of Howard?
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
an Opinion.
Yeah.
Chris
Yeah.
Quinn was
So-
clearly not against slurry sealing. He seemed to think.
Yeah, correct, because it's also not his business. But
Yeah, he's
I
not-
think that's-
You're-
He had good reasons. He thought it was basically cosmetic. It covers things up, doesn't let you see where the cracks are. And it basically gives you a wear surface to keep the underlying stuff from wearing quite so fast.
Yeah, for me, it's
That's
clear that
cool.
you definitely need to do a crack seal first and then a slurry seal. Like without a crack seal, I think you're not gonna get what you want. But I think that's basically where we are in our cycle. So we don't have large things, like if we have a small few patches, which we'll take care over the year, I think. Small patching and patching. But from where I see, I think it's for us as a, you know, the discussion, do we wanna do a slurry seal, or do we just wanna do a crack sealing and then do striping? Or do we just skip this all and do just striping? I think this is where we are. I personally lean a little bit to slurry seal. Just from feedback from Howard, who I really appreciated his technical knowledge, but other than that, I'm really flexible. I think we also, paving committee, like we're really flexible.
Can you repeat what Howard's guidance was?
Howard thought that actually slurry seal was as a maintenance after, like, what was it, 5 years, 6 years, was actually something he would recommend. Because it just builds up and basically prolongs the life of the road. And that's basically what we do, right? We always do patches to prolong the life of the road, and we don't pull a full new road, right? That's basically where we run on the lean budget just to maintain the road and only do patches. That's basically what we currently do, right?
Yeah.
And that was the feedback he gave back then. He didn't even want to come out back then, which I tried to walk with him. I recall we actually had a few offers on the very first round, also just for slurry seal. I haven't looked back at them. But it was like relatively low compared to the paving.
So
If we have a new town engineer, it'd be nice to get another opinion.
Yeah.
don't know if we have a new town engineer.
Okay, how
We
about
can-
I'll figure out if we have a new town engineer and I'll reconnect if we have one. And otherwise, I'm open for suggestions. Who else could, you know, help us in guidance? Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you my take. My take is, you know, I feel it's like painting the house, right? You can choose to not paint your house, but the house is gonna start to degrade faster. So if you do the same thing with the road's gonna last longer if you paint it properly, right? And so the slurry seal, I think, acts as a similar item. So I'm more on the side of, yes, I think it makes sense that we do it. I think we got positive feedback from Howard, which I think is a good semi-unbiased opinion. I think Chris is great. He's been incredibly helpful, and I think he kind of gets the situation we're in and so forth. At the same time, he's the guy that lays these things down and is happy to take our business. So I think, you know, I think we can take his, you know, as with a grain of salt, but we do need to look to Howard, and well, we did look to Howard. We have to look maybe down to the new person, I think, for additional information. But this thing is going to come down to, you know, whether or not we as a group here think that painting the house makes sense, or is this something we can get away with over a long period of time?
Well, you know, just like painting the house doesn't make any sense unless you patch up the cracks first. We have to make sure
Agreed.
that the underlying road isn't sound before we cover up the cracks.
Yeah, slurrying a cracked road doesn't make sense. I think you need to fill the cracks, you need to slurry it, and then you have a nice sealed service that should last for years.
So can I say this is something I'm noticing, some places that are more than cracking, they're getting to be potholes, but they're not deep potholes, but layers of pavement are gone. And so that's the kind of thing, I mean, I agree, you gotta do some repairs before you waste a slurry seal over those things, because it won't do any good there.
Yeah,
So
as a sort of a warning, if you watch what happened with the Hayfields Road, they put a fairly heavy slurry seal on that without doing the underlying work, and it started cracking within a few months.
Yeah.
By the way, could I just interject something about roads cracking? Down below us, for some strange reason, Portola Road is sinking. Got
Oh.
cracks back. It's sinking, trying to sink into family farm. So, and this is the same kind of cracks I see on La Honda Road. And they have, it's like the road on the hairpin turn between the two big retaining walls is trying to move outward. So if next time you're driving on Portola Road between, let's say, Wayside and our boundary, watch for these wiggly kind of, not parallel cracks to the road, but these wiggly sort of ornate kind of cracks. And it's dropped an inch below us. And I don't know what's happening. I don't like the idea that our little landslide that was, you know, the toe of our landslide that we're living on was cut away when the county widened the road. And if you notice around town, they have built retaining walls to hold up every other place in the town except below us with retaining walls, starting, let's say, at Resorts. Resort is just before you get there. There's like 100 feet of retaining wall. There's a retaining wall just past us on Portola Road. There's one all along in front of the winery, whatchamacallit's winery. That's 3, and not us. And you can see that our hillside is slowly worn away.
So that might be a topic that we can talk to the new town manager, the new
If
town
there- yeah, if
engineer.
there is one,
if there
because
is a town
it's
engineer.
like a couple 100 feet long and it's,
We're not gonna deal with
we're not
that
gonna
right now.
fix it. No, but just look for it. Watch it, please.
So Bill, I haven't heard anything from you on slurry seals and cracks and such. Do you have an opinion one way or the other?
Yeah, the cracks need to be sealed first, hard up, and then if you're gonna put a slurry seal down, do it then. A lot of times we'll just seal the cracks and wait 6 months and see how if it progresses or whatnot, if there's another underlying factor, and then we slurry seal.
So is sealing the cracks something that we contract out, or is it something we do ourselves?
Yeah, no, you contract, it's hot
Okay.
tar,
Oh, it's hot pot.
Yeah.
And do we know who does this stuff?
the tailors will do it.
Okay. So should we actually have some people come out and take a look at that?
I think if you identify the sites or, whoever we had out, if the world will come out and look at it, give you advice.
But I think what we're looking at mostly is at the moment is just Lower Santa Maria. It's not sealing the whole hill overall.
Mhm.
Is that, if I put this in a perspective, does that kind of make sense, or like?
Well, that's the oldest that's been redone, right?
That's the oldest section. That was the
So, I
first
mean,
section.
It makes sense to go back now that it's, 'cause when did we do that? 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
I did in 21.
Yeah, so,
4. It's only 4.
Yeah.
yeah, it's time to have that section looked at.
Okay.
And the same thing, as we progress up in the stages that we've done it, would be the
Okay.
best.
So can we ask the paving subcommittee to get some pavers up here for bids on sealing the cracks in Lower Santa Maria? Okay, great, thank you.
Now that brings us back to striping. We're talking about a multi-month, perhaps year-long process before we actually get the road back in shape again. So it sounds like maybe the neighborhood stripers should take another whack at the road.
I think that sounds like a good idea.
You on, Tim?
Yeah, I'm your man, Frank.
Okay.
Let us know what you need in terms of help or traffic control or what have you.
Will do.
Thank you. Have to do it after the rains. We're gonna get rained on the next week or so.
Clean the road off.
Very true.
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess that took us, our paving A, B, and C. There is a new paving issue, which we have under drains berms, which is on Santa Maria, replacement of the log to support the pavement at 21 Santa Maria. That topic has been brought up before. We've looked at it. We thought it wasn't terribly urgent. Jean has put it back on our agenda, indicating that it's more urgent now since there seems to be some disruption underneath that log. Does anybody know what the area that we're talking about? We have some questions. Jean, you want to explain it better?
Sure. So picture how should we say this? As you come up Santa Maria, let's say you're coming down Santa Maria, here's the water tank, you come down the first stretch, make the hairpin turn there, or Marge's properties out at the end of the hairpin. My neighbors, Chris Burke and Rebecca Akers live in a two-story house there before my house comes along. Anyway, this is a log that I've been kind of watching for a while because I walked right by there. And I think Tim and I went to look at it once, a couple of years ago, maybe. There's a log, not very big around. It's not a telephone pole for sure, which we've used to protect edges some places. It's probably this big around. It's completely dried up and dead and small, and the pavement goes right up to it. Tim's smiling. Underneath it, there's nothing. And the pavement goes right up.
Is this on the
There.
downhill side or the uphill side?
The outer side, the downhill. You've got have the big telephone pole log across the big ravine on the other side. On both sides, actually. This is some dumb log that was put there at some point, which it was probably sitting originally on top of some nice solid dirt, but it's just eroded away. So if any vehicle had its wheels on top of this thing, it would just collapse, I'm sure, and maybe could go over the edge. So I just think it needs to be shored up in some way, whether well, unfortunately, the PG&E won't give us poles anymore because they're toxic. Darn, they were so good. I don't know how we would fix it, maybe a little mini retaining wall or something, but it's clearly not able to support anything anymore. So I'd be happy to take a little tour with anybody's willing to come out and take a look and wonder if they would like to go over the edge there in their vehicle. Does
We
anybody-
may be getting some more logs here in a little bit. All the new telephone poles that have the old telephone pole next to it are about to get removed by the data people. And I've asked them if we can have those logs, and they seem fine with it. So
Who
we
was
may
it?
be getting
It's
the
not PG&E.
Comcast, no, not PG&E,
Oh,
the
okay.
Comcast and the other people that are going to reattach the lines from the old poles to the new poles. The old
Okay.
poles now become surplus. And I've asked them if we can have them, and they said yes at that time.
When was that? And they're gonna take them out pretty soon?
Yeah, relatively soon, when they change over all the AT&T phone lines and all the rest of it to the new poles.
Once
Okay.
again, somebody better be there at the right time.
Exactly.
So do we have a Comcast representative or some way that we know that we're talking to someone who can actually make something happen?
I assume it's 18, well, right?
It was the AT&T people I was talking to.
Oh, okay, so AT&T ran the fiber up. Is it all the way to the top? Are they finished now?
I
That's
don't
what-
know that.
None of our
We
house.
don't know that.
Is it up to you guys? Is the fiber up there yet?
They say it is, yes. So I think it's all the way up. And they have been replacing poles. And I did speak to the technician who came out on the latest wire dangle to find out what was happening with the big wire
Oh.
dangle. And it was dangling again because of the replacement of the power pole. They know about it and they're going to be restringing it. And it's going to happen, but we don't know when. But that was from a technician. I mean, we don't have any, so from AT&T standpoint, we just get repair tickets. So we would have to, I don't know how we would get, I don't know who it is at AT&T that we would ask for the pole.
I think what I would say, like, generating a pole is secondary. I think first it's a question, do we really need to replace that pole,
Right.
that lock on the lower side? So, Tim, how about we do have a look down there, it's like at one point? Just to see it, like, because once, when we're really sure this really needs to go, then it's like, then we get a pole. I think
get a
it's
pole.
it's the other way around, like the moment we try to look for a nail, we have a hammer in the hand. So let's reconfirm that first. Let's make it,
Okay, but let's do it right away. I mean, hey, and I'd say get some poles if we get a chance to, because they are such a good piece of material for so many of our places where you're crossing over a little ravine or something. I don't know where we'd store them, but get them while we can because they're gonna be gone pretty soon.
So who wants to look at this and come up with a plan for what we need to do with this area? Jean has brought it up. I know, Tim, you've looked at it. Bill, have you looked at it? Do you know what we're talking about? Do you want to take a look at it with Tim and see whether you can engineer something that makes some sense, right?
Good, let me
Or-
read it at once. It's, it
Yes.
is sort of midway between, so their house is closer to me. Their property goes, extends past the ravine going uphill, a big ravine that carries most of our water. It's maybe halfway in the middle of their property. And it drops down, it's very steep.
So it's,
And the
it's on the
log-
Berker
the log
property.
is
It's on the-
maybe, I don't know, 10
it-
feet
It's
long.
on the,
Can I just interject real quick? I'm sorry, Teresa, I gotta run.
okay.
My apologies. I gotta feed the kids.
It's okay.
Bye,
Matt.
Matt.
Thank you
Bye.
for attending as long as you did. We appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Matt. Okay, so from the follow-up, we're gonna have Bill and Tim, and Jean, and I'll probably join you just to see what's going on. And if we can grab a telephone pole from the guys when they're up here, that's great. Where we put it, we'd have to probably maybe put it on Tobin property on the side down there until we can figure out a place to put it. We'd have to check with Steve first, of course.
Let's think of some places in the
Yeah,
meantime.
we should probably think of some places before. Okay. Anything else on
Yeah,
that
I-
area, Jean?
I'd like to suggest that in future, if people are going to bring up a certain area, they'd be required to bring a photo rather than a verbal description. If that could be a standard thing, that if you're going to talk about something, you got to bring a photo so everybody knows what you're talking about. And that would address
Thank you,
what,
Annalise. We have your suggestion of putting addresses, which we've done, and photos is technology beyond what I can do. So, I mean, if someone wants to do that, that's great.
wait, I'm sorry, you're not able to take a photograph and hold it
No,
up to the
Annalise,
screen?
that's not what I said. No, forget it. I should-
That's what I mean. Take a
Fire.
photograph. If you're going to come to the meeting, hold it up so people can see it. Thank you.
Thank you for your suggestion. Okay, very good. Follow-up activities, retaining wall on Tynan, resident 139. Just wanted to report, the resident told me that the construction is complete. The building permit was signed off on, and so as far as we know, that area is done, stable, good. And we appreciate everybody's patience. The other activity at Fort Russell, we were asked to look at putting a retaining wall up there. Do I have the right address? I'm sorry, this may not be the right. Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke of the Fort Russell first. Fort Russell was the one that the resident informed us that the building permit was signed off on and the project is complete. The 139 Russell, that is the Fowler residence. They came to us requesting a small retaining wall. We felt it wasn't necessary, and the resident took it upon themselves to put up a retaining wall. We just wanted to alert the group that there's now a little retaining wall along that area, and we'll see how it does. Hopefully it does what the resident was hoping it would do. And the swale along Trinity, we have received another request from Kristen and Klaus, residents on Trinity, to fill in some of its swale, that it's too deep. They came to us, if you recall, at our last meeting, that they reported that someone had gone into the swale and had broken their wheel or some portion of their wheel. And they wanted us to do something along that area. Since that time, they had other requests. A sign has been put up for notifying people that the only access down that part of Trinity is to their address. Thank you, Tim, for doing that. There's also a sign at the top, at the corner at Russell and Trinity that notes that only Trinity residents, and there's no outlet, right? That's the no outlet sign. I don't know if those things have helped. I hope they have. But they did want us to discuss the depth of the swale once again. I looked at it. It's deeper than most of our swales, but I think to me the bigger issue is that the edge along the downhill side of Trinity is not demarcated so that maybe people are hugging the wall. I don't know. I'm not sure what the issue is. But there is no room for two cars, so having two cars go down there is not an issue. The road is wide enough for one car. I'm perplexed as to why additional work is needed. I thought maybe some reflectors would be nice along the edge, and Frank was gonna look at that. No, we haven't put those in yet. Frank, did you have comments on that?
Well, I want to talk to Chris and Klaus before doing anything, but my recommendation would be to put some pavement markers or dots along the edge of the road so you can clearly see where the edge of the road is. The trouble with the little driveway markers is that you can't get them exactly right at the edge of the road because you have to put them in where they'll stick in the soil. The pavement markers are a little more difficult to put in and would end up being a little more expensive, but I think it'd be a better solution. Anyway, but I want to see that they're happy with that idea.
Were you talking about putting them along the road where the wall is or on the downhill side?
Both sides.
Both
So
sides.
you're driving along, you have a little set of runway lights essentially guiding you into their home.
I think it's good, keep working with them and see if we come to a solution. I think I second that, filling in a nice deep trench, first of all, I would like to know, how full is it actually when it's really raining? Because the worst could be we fill it up and then it actually overflows.
Yeah.
So I actually rather like to see a deep trench there. Also, the road is wide, so yeah, we probably don't need to hand it. If it's a single accident, someone driving off the edge, okay, you can help, probably guiding, but taking large action, probably not what I see. That's all.
Anybody else have any input? I know they were planning on being here tonight, but for some reason, I don't know if they're not. Okay, so we'll continue along the lines of trying to demarcate the road a little bit more clearly. And I don't hear any real appetite for filling in with asphalt more the swale at this point.
Yeah, if we were going to put something in there, it should be something like coarse, big rocks or something that'll let the water pass through. Because it still wants to serve that function of draining the water away.
Yeah, but even that fills up immediately, after one, it's filled with mud, and then it's filled anyway. So that one.
If the rocks are big enough, it'll take a while. Anyway, I think what we need to do is the next atmospheric river, we need to all go down there and stand in the rain and watch what happens.
That's a good idea, actually, to see how deep the water really gets.
Great idea. Okay, so everybody's going to be encouraged to go out when it's pouring rain and take a look and see how the drainage in the swales are looking.
Yeah, the worse the weather, the better.
Absolutely. We'll put that in the minutes. Thank you. Do we need a motion on that, Frank?
No.
Okay. Okay, any more on the follow-up activities? Cleanup, we did fall road days. We did it this time with gardeners, 2 dumpsters, and good participation. My impression was that the lower dumpster was barely half filled. The upper dumpster was filled. So I'm wondering if we're between chipper and dumpster days, whether we're running into not having enough to fill 2 dumpsters. But having said that, I'm not prepared to then right now say, let's just do 1 dumpster. So I just think we
No.
need to watch it and see what happens over the next, road day or two.
I agree.
We should probably schedule our spring cleanup. Does anybody, have any specific date or dates that they think would be good or better than others? We usually do it in April. We try to avoid holidays, and I know at one point we almost close to Mother's Day.
So we have between April, I just looked back my calendar, April 23rd and May 22nd. Is what
Hmm.
I had ranges. So we have Easter,
Oh.
the first
I'll be
week of
away
May.
all of April, but you don't need me necessarily.
First week of May, so we have Cinco de Mayo on a Monday. 3rd, 4th. I could do this.
3rd and 4th look like they're clear. I don't know when any of the school holidays are. Does anybody,
No.
I know Matt just disappeared. Anybody have school holidays? Well, we can
Yeah,
tentatively
I'm-
schedule it, and then, if we're colliding with them, we can change it.
I'm not back until May 7th, if that makes any difference.
Well, the next weekend, the 10th and 11th is Mother's Day weekend. I suggest that's probably not the best time to be doing road days.
17, 18?
And 17, 18 is Armed Forces Day, and Monday is
It's always-
Victoria Day in Canada. So those days are also.
Okay.
So
So,
it's some
I-
excuse.
so why don't we earmark the two, and let's see when Woodside does their chipper, because we also don't want to collide with the chipper program.
Ideally, we want to have chipper first.
Yeah, so that, yeah, that's the question. What's the order, the logical order? of those things?
Good idea, I don't know. They'll have an opinion. Chipper first?
Shippers
or-
first and then cleanup day the next weekend or something, or vice versa?
That's on us, definitely chipper first.
Get some dates first and.
Well, they said the first ones are gonna be in March, so we don't know when we're gonna be assigned. They just assign us dates.
Oh, it's March, but then it's March, it doesn't matter for us anymore.
It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, so I think we'll just note down the second, the 3rd and the 4th, and what was the other one?
So it was May 3rd and 4th, or May 17th and 18th.
Yeah, and we just check with the school vacation schedule. Right.
And then, is it our intent to do the gardener pickup again? Okay. I think our truck folks are getting old. Yes, we do. And then we have a cocktail party on next Sunday. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
So that's our cleanup. And then fire-wise, I think maybe you should have all received a notice about Woodside Highlands is participating in a fire-wise community, which means that we commit to developing goals for our community, and then measure success against those goals. The goals are all focused on reducing the risk of fire in our area. Our Firewise community is consisting of all of kind of like the western part of Portola Road, so down from Wayside, Santa Maria, Hayfields, up to Old La Honda. And then we have one little community that's in Wyndham. And then it goes up to 84. So east of 84 and down. It's called Old La Honda Firewise Community. And part of the benefit of being in a Firewise community is that the many fire insurance carriers will actually give homeowners a discount if you're in a Firewise community. So for those residents who are having their fire insurance renewed, you may want to mention that you're in a Firewise community, and you do know that State Farm has been giving 2% premium discount for those homeowners. We don't know if the others will follow suit. We're hoping that we continue for those insurance carriers that are writing policies in our area. We hope that they will continue to write policies, and one of the things that would be important for your insurance carrier, whoever you have, to know is that we are now in a Firewise community.
I just had an inspection done, and when you sell a house now, maybe most of you know it, you have to have Woodside Fire Protection District come out, walk around your house, make a list and take pictures of all the things that are not okay with them. And they're focusing on the 5-foot nothing zone right around your house or other structures. And they come out, and then you, unless you're going to be selling your house, you have to have them come back out and certify that you have done every single thing they want done. You get a certification. So if you do that, you can also show that to your insurance agent. And that's another real positive, along with being in Firewise community. So I've had 3 of those done now, and it might seem kind of severe sometimes. I mean, you can't have anything within 5 feet, and deep mulch like this that we have under our oaks is not okay. Close to the house, it can be scattered, but none of this stuff for 5 feet out. All kinds of stuff like dry brush, and any dead tree has to be removed, so on and so forth. And they do it. When you do it for a sale, it's $500. They have them come out first and then come back and certify if they do. I think if you're just a homeowner, they would love to come out for nothing, and they're not going to force you to do anything, but they'll point out what you really should do. And if you do show something to your insurance company that you did it, then it helps with it a lot.
One other thing to say about that in the fire department is that they have not officially inspected Woodside Highlands. We were scheduled to be inspected sometime in 2025. So that's this year. I don't know when they're going to be inspecting our neighborhoods, but they talk about putting door hangers on people's homes when they do these inspections, notifying them of their findings. And then, of course, that opens up a dialogue. So we haven't been inspected yet as a community, but we do expect to be inspected. They have a large area to cover, so they've started in Woodside first. And I think they're taking the higher risk areas first, and of course in Woodside Highlands we have been designated a high fire risk zone.
By the way, I just learned something to talk about being designated this and that. I just learned that the town of Portola Valley has a hazard map, and the only place in the whole town marked red is us. That map is maybe 20 years old. The fire department tells me that map should be out of there. That's not the right map, and it could get us into trouble some way or another. Insurance companies look at it or something. It's a pretty bad deal.
Okay, any other questions on Firewise or Woodside Highlands Road Maintenance District? Okay, I thank everybody for coming, and I see a new person named Javed. Whoever you are, welcome. I don't recognize your face, but if you're a new resident to Woodside Highlands, welcome to the community. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to contact one of us. And with that, do I hear a motion to close the meeting? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 7:15 motion to adjourn has been passed. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thanks, Teresa.
Bye. Thank you.
All right.